Corinne.
And welcome to It's Not Your Fault. I'm your host, Kim Power-Stilson, here with author Steve Shenk. And Steve Shenk is a food expert, and he is the head of all these conferences you're hearing about It's Not Your Fault. It's the new great, I don't know, it's like the newest slice bread kind of solution. And it's better than anything you've seen out there, and it's something that I love. Now, I've been a big fan of, you know, all of the Norman Vincent Peale, What Color's Your Parachute, The Secret, read all those books. But what I think is fabulous about what Steve's written and the program that Steve has is that it really changes your life. It's Not Your Fault is not only a solution, it's just a new way of thinking. Now, this is the second part of the gratitude series, and in the first two parts we talked about writing down everything you're grateful for, deciding, then writing down everything you're grateful for, including your fingers, your toes, everything. And then do appreciation in the future. Decide what you're going to have in the future. Pray or think as if you have that and be grateful for it, and then see what happens. Today, we are going to talk about something hinted at the last show, which is the My Book of Life. Now, if you've ordered the book, or if you are attending a conference, have or are planning to attend a Steve Shenk conference, then you will know that My Book of Life is an essential tool to understanding how to apply It's Not Your Fault to your life. Now, it's easy. It's just aha moment after aha moment, but it's important to talk about it. And so today, Steve, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to talk about that.
Well, the My Book of Life is something that I struggled to figure out for a lot of years. It's kind of the culmination of that. You see, you can read all sorts of self-help books that tell you how to set goals and all this kind of stuff. I have never seen them actually connect the gratitude concept quite the way that we've been able to do it here. But one of the biggest things with people, and maybe it's just me, you got to understand all of the problems and stupidity in the book It's Not Your Fault, and also in My Book of Life, are the result of self-analysis. And that's me being kind of dumb and doing all these dumb things, and the guardian comes in and solves the problems.
So you're referring to, in the book, Michael is every man, every person.
Yeah, and I'm about as everybody as you can get. So
and the guardian is a teacher that shows up. So you're saying, you're admitting here live that it's you.
I'm the dummy, you know. Well, you know, the fascinating thing is that in my experience, and I've been around long enough to have a little bit of it, probably the worst math teacher is the guy that's a math genius, you see, and probably the worst sales trainer is the guy that just kind of is a natural-born salesman and can do everything just really well.
And he's the worst sales trainer.
Well, yeah. If he didn't have to grub and scramble and you know, the sales, well, maybe the company's son who gets all the cherry picking leads and all the other guys have to fight for him, he's not a good sales trainer. But the fact is that we've had some experience, and one of the things that was always missing, when people get on a diet, how long do they typically last? When people decide to take vitamins, you know, they see one of these infomercials, how long do they usually last? When I get on an exercise program, when I decide that I'm going to do something, usually it's about 3 days. Okay? About 3 days is the limit for most people.
And what is
2.5 was mine.
Okay.
You know, most people make it 3 days. I make it about 2, and then, well, I'm not sick anyway. I guess I don't need these vitamins. I hate taking pills, so what the heck? And you know, I can still run up and down the stairs. You know, until I get the 2x4 across the forehead, I never learn anything. And so this has been well proven. But the fact is that you never had a track to run on. They'd say, write all your goals and repeat all your goals. Well, yeah, but what's the reporting thing? So let's talk about My Book of Life. The first section is in 3 sections. The first section is your gratitude journal This is where you write down everything you can think of, and there are enough pages in there.
Yes.
It gives you instructions. You're supposed to write 5 of each. You know, people that, living people, dead people, people that have been instrumental in teaching your mentors and that type of thing. The stuff you have, you know, your cars and your house and all this stuff. Everything you're grateful for. And if you get more than 5, you go on the back page and you write some more. You write everything you can think of, because you're going to need them sometime. When you get discouraged because you want a nicer house and you're grateful for the house you've got, all of a sudden you might not want to spend more of your life's blood earning money to add to something you're already grateful for. It puts a common sense to things.
Yeah.
And so you write down everything that you're grateful for. The second section, that's a Polish 2. The second section.
And I was like, what?
We used to have Polak jokes back in the 60s. You remember the old Polak?
No.
Never mind. All of you Poles out there, I'm German. There are a lot more German jokes than there are Polish jokes. So anyway, but the second section is where you write down all of your objectives. I don't call them goals necessarily. You can call them goals if you want to. Objectives, targets, whatever. And most people, when they write that kind of stuff down, will write down just the stuff they want. The gimme stuff. You know, give me this, give me that, give me this. You know, but the most important thing is to write down the things that you need to become so that you deserve to earn and receive all the gimme stuff. So the kind of person you want to be, the qualities you want to have. You want people to be able to say about themselves when they're around you that they like themselves best when they're with you. That makes friends, that makes relationships, that keeps wives and keeps husbands and keeps children and everybody in place. What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a vindictive stinker like I already am? Or do I want to become a kind, giving person who is capable of unconditional love and doesn't put a condition on every daggum thing so that you have to get my approval in order for me to say, since I approve of you, then I will love you, you know? So what you need to be, so the goals and objectives and targets are more about who you choose to be. And you write every one of those as though you are already that, or you are already in possession of that, and you have already achieved that. And then you apply every one of your 5 senses, you know, touch, smell, sight, you know, taste, all that. You apply as many of your senses to your visualization or your mental creation of that as you possibly can. See yourself driving that car. Feel how it kind of just fits your butt. And just imagine what it's like to be driving along and looking out the window and seeing this good-looking chickie looking over at you saying, man, that old dude must be wealthy. He's got a neat car, or whatever you want to think. Some of you that aren't old dudes would not want a chickie saying that about you, but, you know, but then, or you picture your wife in this nice little sports car and all the other guys, while you're sitting there thinking about this trophy wife that you've got because you put her in this nice car, she's driving along in this little sports car, or whatever you want.
Might be in trouble, yeah.
This is a little bit silly, but you get my point. So, feelings create, not thoughts. Okay, thoughts become things by feeling, creating them. So you create all the feelings you can, and when you first wake up in the morning, before you have your prayers, before you have your cup of coffee, before you do anything else, even before you, no, not before you kiss your wife good morning. No. Just right after you kiss your wife good morning, then you, boy, did I get one on that right?
Yeah, well done.
Yes, okay. But anyway, you read each one of these goals, if you can, out loud without embarrassing yourself, and you visualize and feel how it would feel to have accomplished that. And you go down through them, and then at night you do the same thing after you've done everything. And this after you've kissed your wife goodnight, you read your goals and you feel your goals, and then you go to bed and sleep well, knowing that you've put this out. Now, when you have a little doubt, when you have a hiccup, when you look in the mirror and that muffin top gut is still hanging over your belt, even though you have the goal of losing 30 pounds, okay? I am thankful that I have lost 30 pounds and am trim and slim and,
Mean and lean.
What you do is you look at what you're grateful for. You look at your gratitudes that connect with that. Things about your health, things about your appearance, things about everything you've got going for yourself, and you do not allow yourself to uncreate, because you made the decision, you visualized, and you felt your objective, and as soon as that little doubt comes in, the mind can only think one thing at a time. Can't think gratitude and, oh crappy, I look terrible. I'm grateful for, and then you take that section of grateful fors and you repeat those grateful fors, and you find as many grateful fors until that nasty thought of uncreation goes away. And that is the key. If you will do that, I promise you that your objectives will be accomplished in much shorter order and in different ways than you ever imagined, but they will be there because you are a magnificent creator.
Now, before we get a break, Steve, I wanted to share that I've tried this. I've read my book of life, or started applying it, and I had a birthday recently, and I love James Taylor, and so I decided that I was grateful for getting to go to a James Taylor concert for my birthday. Fortunately, James Taylor doesn't agree. He's not in town. However, I went to sleep that night having done that anyway, because I thought, why not, right? It makes me happy. And that night, I dreamt that I was at a James Taylor concert. And not only that, but he actually came up to me and talked to me and gave me something. So, I mean, I know that sounds silly, but even in the smallest things that make you happy, it works. I mean, I woke up smiling and happy, and I went to a James Taylor concert. I got to meet him in my dreams, but on my birthday. So I think that's kind of a fun thing to share, because I'm not focusing on what was negative. I'm absolutely focusing on the positive part. So, all right, you're listening to It's Not Your Fault. This is Steve Shenk. I'm your co-host, Kim Power-Stilson. We're going to be right back with more after this brief break.
Folks, have you ever realized that freedom is spelled F-O-O-D? Food. After air and water, food is our greatest dependency. Taking control of that dependency ensures personal power, independence, and freedom. We can't control earthquakes, storms, martial law, dollar crash inflation, the global warming hoax, farm and garden restrictive legislation, job loss, crop failures, or the 2012 planet disruptions. However, if we have our own food, none of these can control us. Hunger can never be used to control you if you never are forced to stand in a bread line because you do not have your own bread. It seems the only freedom we still have control of is possession of food. If we don't control our own food, events are rapidly moving to use food to control us. Freedom truly is spelled F-O-O-D. Contact efoodsdirect.com or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com or 800-409-5633.
And welcome back to It's Not Your Fault. I'm your co-host, Kim Power-Stilson. I'm here with Steve Shenk, the author of It's Not Your Fault. If you've been watching this series, It's Not Your Fault, on the Roku TV box or on Facebook or Internet, thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here. We're on the second part of the series, the Gratitude and Appreciation series, and today we're talking about My Book of Life. And now, Steve, before the break, we were talking about how, you know, we can decide and then we direct our focus on being grateful for that which we hope to have, right, as if we have it. And before the break, I talked about how
you had the dream.
I had the dream.
Let me for the sake of the viewers out there. Now, I know that some of you will probably say, "Well, yeah, so she didn't really get her concert. She just got a dream about it. That doesn't count." Well, let's look at that a minute. Okay, the day before your birthday, you know, you would like to go to a James Taylor concert. Okay, what you have to understand is that now James Taylor's touring in Europe right now.
Right.
And now if you keep that, you said for your birthday.
Yes, which was pretty soon. The next day.
Yes, but now for those of you out there, if she continues to follow up on that and say, I am grateful for attending a James Taylor concert for my birthday, you notice she wasn't detailed. She didn't say this birthday.
True. No, I didn't.
Okay. So if you want to keep that goal or objective, you can. But also, you have to deal with some reality, not a lot of reality. I mean, if you really needed to accomplish something and you were really focused on it, it's amazing that you can do virtually the impossible. In fact, people do the impossible all the time. But in this case, it was just kind of an offhanded, fun little thing. So if you want to keep that, you will attend a James Taylor concert for your birthday. But you got a whole year to do it now, since his birthday is over with.
Right.
You got a little sniff of the fact that your whole where do dreams come from? They come from your subconscious. What are you setting up? You're setting up your subconscious to deal with the entire universe. And so you got a little concert for yourself.
I did.
And so
and it felt real, and I was really happy.
Yeah.
And that's the gratitude thing I think you're talking about. What you do works so well. I've read all those books. Never before in my entire life, and I'm very positive, optimistic, never before have I applied these principles. Norman Vincent Peale or any of those guys, right? Dale Carnegie. It's never worked like this. It even works for my dreams. It's worked for my daughter, my kids, for me, people around me. It just works that fast because it really becomes part of the fiber of your being.
Mm-hmm. Well, I read another section of my book, and I have this one fellow that it's very important for a strategic alliance that we have with our business to have a good relationship with this individual, and things were kind of getting goofy with some of his employees and things, and I wrote in my my book of life that the relationship. I'm grateful for the fact that the relationship with this gentleman is exactly what it needs to be for our two companies to work well together. The next day, while we were recording, my phone, we turn our phones off, of course, during the recording session, but I had a message on there from him. I called him up, and he said, well, Steve, I just, I got to thinking about you, and I was just wondering if there's anything that we can do, that my team can do to be more supportive of what you're trying to accomplish.
Wow.
With shipping food around the countryside and this type of thing. And this was 2 days after I'd written it. And so, I mean, it's just, the timing in the universe and everything is just really perfect in that way. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you do what we've just asked you to do, you've written your gratitude journal, you've written your goals, objectives, targets, everything that you can think of, and you have written it in your own hand. Don't print it out on the computer.
No,
Write
no
it in your own hand, because it has to go from your brain through your arm to your hand onto the paper, and there's something magic about that creation. Okay? The other thing is that you never uncreate it by doubting or fearing or whatever. By using, the way you do that is you use your your gratitude journal to plug in all the stuff around that you're grateful for anytime you get just a little whimper of a doubt. But here's the most important thing. The third section is your journal of reports and knowledge. Every day, people lose about 80% of what they learn. They forget about 80% of what they learn. So what you do in this section is, first of all, you write the date. And then you write, yes, I did one time or two times go through and visualize my objectives. Okay? You report. You have to report. Every day you'll have every date down there. This will avoid the 3-day syndrome. Okay? You have to write in the book every day before you go to bed, before you give up the day. You have to report something that you learned, a wonderful thought, just something every day. Sometimes you'll have 2 or 3, but a specific concept that you learned that day, you write that in there. You report the fact that you did do your objectives twice a day. And so you have written the knowledge that you've gained and the report on yourself, and then you can close down your book and know that you are applying the principles very well. So what you want to do is you take this little journal, and it's a little bitty bugger. It will fit in a coat pocket or in a purse.
And you have to buy it separately from the
That's
good
right.
It's Not Your Fault book.
And it goes for 6 months at a time. And when you start your new journal, you rewrite in your own handwriting your new grateful list, your new gratitude list, and then you write your new objective list, and then you read through all of the last 6 months of notes, because in your reports and knowledge, you have also written each time one of those, like for example, I wrote the other day when that gentleman called me, I wrote in that entry for that day that goal had been achieved. And so you have literally a history. You've written the scripture of your life.
My book of life.
6 months at a time. And you put this little book on the shelf when you get done with that 6 months. And then you start your next 6 months journal by writing your objectives, by writing your gratitudes. And they'll be different.
Because you'll have accomplished them. You will have.
Absolutely. And so as you read through the last section, your book of knowledge and records, you literally have a journal of your achievements and your thoughts, and you also write in the challenges that you have. You go to work and somebody's a real dipstick, so you have to put that individual in your journal, and you put it as an objective. I get along with the dipstick at work very well, and the dipstick actually thinks I'm wonderful. Okay? And so then later on, you're going to write that the dipstick actually didn't put a banana on your chair for you to sit on that day, and he actually said something nice, and now has become your best golfing buddy, or whatever you want. But
hallelujah!
You keep book on yourself. You see,
Great.
This is the way you avoid the 3-day rule. This is the way you avoid uncreating. And so by the combination of these 3 sections in this little bitty journal of your life, you literally will be able to systematize. My daddy used to say, son, if you can get the key to anything you want to do, or what he was saying is if you can develop the system for anything you want to do, you can accomplish anything in your life. It goes with shingle in a barn, shoveling the crap out the back door of the barn from the calf pen, and also reaching your goals. I'll take care of the first 2. You worry about the last one.
Thanks for joining us on It's Not Your Fault. Catch us again next week. Steve Shenk, Kim Power Stilson. You can find us on itsnotyourfault.tv.